Welcome back to the Figure Kit Garage, fellow resin heads and kit builders. Brent Krug back with another out-of-the-box review. As you can see on the table in front of me, this is a kit that has been quite a long time in coming. The name on the little manila envelope says it all. This is Amy from the 1985 film Fright Night. For those of you who have seen the film, and there's a lot of us out there that grew up during that time period, Fright Night is an incredible horror flick. It's also a comedy, but it centers mostly on the horror aspect of vampires. For those of you who haven't seen the film, and I will be surprised if there's anybody out there who's never seen Fright Night, it's a sweet little story about a boy named Charlie who is a big fan of horror films, who believes that a vampire has moved in next door to him. After several attempts at proving it, his next door neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, begins chasing him and his friends down, and this bust that is sculpted by Mark Van Tine, who I will have to say, Mark, you have outdone yourself on this sculpt, captures Charlie's girlfriend Amy after she has been captured and bitten by Mr. Dandridge in her near final transformation into a vampire. And for everything that the movie did, the vampire effects were pretty damned original, but Amy's transformation, and when I take the bust out, you'll understand why, Amy's transformation was very unique. Amy, played by Amanda Burse, after she's bitten, she starts off as a slightly mousy, shy, timid brunette, short-haired brunette, and after being bitten begins a transformation into a very sexy, curvy redhead with a severe aversion to sunlight and a taste for human blood. As I said, Mark nailed the likeness to the look of this character, and it's one of the most unique vampire likenesses that's ever been done. This bust is in 1/4 scale in 6 pieces. The castings by Paul Gill are absolutely out of this world. I swear if I do find a mold line on this, I will be absolutely surprised. It's about 10 inches tall and goes for $100. And we'll start off with what's inside this manila envelope. And for those who have bought kits from Paul that have been sculpted by Mark, most of you will know that Mark Van Tine is not just a sculptor, he's also a really incredible artist. And the certificate of authenticity that comes with this is artwork drawn by Mark himself of Amy from the film. Signed by Paul and Mark. Mark and Paul collaborate on some of the best pieces out there. It's not just Paul and Jeff Yeager. Paul and Mark have done some incredible works together, and Amy is no exception. So we are going to start with the base, and the base on this is absolutely perfect for the character. Let's set that up there. We'll bring that in closer. This is molded in a light bluish purple resin, but the nameplate, and I'll take that off so you guys can get a better look at it, does pop out, and it's loosely based off part of the poster art that was done for the film. All the spirits floating through the night sky, and the Fright Night title logo. They'll stick in there just like that. But Mark's sculpture of this base is absolutely beautiful. You know, very nicely detailed, and Paul's casting really, really came off without a hitch. I can only imagine how many molds he had to make to do this, because this is a definite open face pour. I do not see any mold lines in any way, shape, or form. And it is signed by Mark on the bottom. And some folks were lucky enough to get artwork similar to the certificate on the bottom of their base. Some did, some didn't. I'm not upset about not getting it. The base alone is worth it. Really, really beautiful. Nice, crisp corners. No edges that have been lost during the casting process. Paul really, he knows how to get the detail molded in the right way. Keep blurring out. And this is the first in a series of busts based on these characters. And with permission from Paul, the next bust in this series will be Evil Ed Thompson, played by Stephen Jeffries. So that'll be an interesting one to see when Mark gets that sculpt done, because this whole series is going to be done by him. And here we have Amy. And thankfully, the teeth were casted in two separate pieces, which is going to make painting this mouth a whole lot easier. But Mark did an absolutely fantastic job at capturing the prosthetic makeup effects that were used on Amanda Burse in the film. When this look, after she changes, she confronts Charlie down in the basement of Jerry Dandridge's home. He shoves a cross in her face, and she turns around and starts crying, reminding Charlie that he promised that he would not let Jerry Dandridge get her. In a moment of weakness, Charlie drops his cross, she pulls her face out of her hands, and this is the look you get. So Mark really did his homework on getting Amy's look absolutely perfect. And yes, she's not wearing a bra. This dress is meant to be see-through in just about every aspect. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. Mark's hair sculpt, right on point. Yeah, Mark, you did an outstanding job on this. And the peg for where the left arm will go, really nicely done. Eyes sculpted in. And when you see the teeth, I'll use a little bit of quake putty to get the teeth put in. You'll understand why this is one of the most unique vampire looks in the film. I have to remember how I tape this up. Give me a second. And the left hand for Amy. You know, all the detail in the skin, the fingernails, beautifully captured by Mark. You know, just really excellent overall. And then that'll plug in just like so. You know, really, really beautiful piece. And then we have her dentures, or excuse me, vampire teeth. And this is one of the rare instances where teeth for a character have been cast separately. But these are the upper teeth for Amy, nicely captured. And if you've ever seen the film, I think I know what this look is originally supposed to be. In the film, Jerry Dandridge transforms into a bat during his confrontation with Charlie and Peter Vincent. And I believe this is a combination of the vampire bat's mouth and her. It's her next step in her final transformation. All she has yet to do is just drink blood. And then the lower set of teeth, excuse me, nicely molded in red resin. Let's see if I can find my Quake putty in here. Put in my little drawer full of tricks. I don't know. Hope I did. Let me pause the video real quick and I'll find it. Alright, we're back. Found what I was looking for. Yeah, Fright Night is definitely one of those films that you just don't forget it after you see it. With a cast that consisted of William Ragsdale, Chris Sarandon, Stephen Jeffries, and the late great Roddy McDowall, Fright Night has definitely taken its place as one of the best vampire films out there. It did have a sequel in 1988, Fright Night 2, which unfortunately did not live up to the success of the original. It focused on a sister that came out of nowhere, Regine Dandridge, who was after Charlie Brewster for killing her brother. Did not do very well at all. And both films wound up being remade. The remake of Fright Night in 2011 with Colin Farrell and the late Anton Yelchin as Jerry Dandridge and Charlie Brewster, instead of taking place in Los Angeles, as the original film did. That one took place in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada. I was not impressed, to say the least, especially with Colin Farrell's Jerry Dandridge. Was not crazy about it, and I only watched maybe the first 10 minutes of the sequel to it, called Fright Night 2, New Blood, and immediately quit watching it. I was definitely not impressed, because none of the original characters of Amy or Charlie from the 2011 remake were even in the film. So yeah, it definitely did not live up to the hype. But this one has developed one hell of a cult status all by itself, and that's a wonderful thing to see. This is Amy's final look with the teeth. They're not sitting there prickly because of the Quake putty, but that's how they'll fit in there. And like I said, that's got to be a combination of the vampire bat and her all together. This bust is definitely worth it. I managed to jump in on the list very early. I do plan on getting every single one of the characters from this series. It's so worth it. So my hat's off to Mark Van Tine for an absolutely incredible sculpt of this character. And surprisingly enough, this is not the first time Amy has been done. Back in 1991, the original geometric design, under the ownership of George Stevenson, released 2 kits from the first film. The Vampire Bat and a full 1/6 scale figure of Amy that was sculpted by the late Mike Parks, which is both of those are very difficult kits to find. There was a kit of Evil Ed done in full figure, but I don't think that kit was very successful, and the likeness was not very well done. After Geometric was sold, Chris Elizardo had done a bust of Amy in a much smaller scale, but this 1/4 scale piece I think is the best likeness to Amy that I've ever seen. That's not saying anything bad about Mike Parks' sculpt. The full figure is absolutely incredible. And if you're lucky enough to have one, then all the better for you. I never did get in on it, and I kind of wish I had, because Mike Parks was a hell of a sculptor. I'll leave contact information for Paul in the comments down below, but this is definitely one, if you're a fan of this film, this is one you definitely want to get in on. So contact Paul. I know he had a heck of a list for Amy. I believe he's getting through it as fast as he can. He's also got other projects he's molding and casting. But give him a shout and see if she's still available. It's not going to be discontinued anytime soon. I got a feeling this one's going to be really popular, as will the rest of the characters in the series. So once again, big kudos to Paul and Mark. And Paul sent this thing off on Tuesday, and I got it. This is it's 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. I got it on a Friday. So Paul's shipping, again, ludicrous speed, quick. And I have no complaints whatsoever about the shipping, customer service, the casting, any of it. This is definitely a highly recommended kit for vampire fans, for Fright Night fans. You got to get it. You just can't go without it. So, if you like what you see, hit the like, share, subscribe. And in the comments below, this is something I would like to see if you guys want to do it. I want to know what your all-time favorite vampire film is. I'd like to see a lot of people comment on this and see what kind of responses we get, because I'll give you my top 5. Fright Night is definitely in my top 5. It's fifth on my list. Number 4 on my list is the original David Soul, Salem's Lot. If you've never seen that film, it's one you need to watch. The remake that came out a few years ago, wasn't too crazy about it, but the original was definitely, it's definitely a must-see. I was lucky enough to get it on Blu-ray, and it looks fantastic in high def. Even scarier, I got to admit. Number 3, Nosferatu, the Vampire, with Klaus Kinski and Isabella Gianni. It's the remake of the 1922 silent film. Definite must-have for a part of your collection if you're a vampire fan. Highly recommended, especially if you get the Blu-ray from Scream Factory. They did a full remaster, and it looks incredible. I hadn't seen it since it was on Cinemax back in the 1980s, and watching it on Blu-ray is the best I've ever seen it. So I definitely recommend that one. Number 2, the original 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula. Basically the one that started the vampire films. And Lugosi, as far as the Dracula character goes itself, he's one of the top 2 that's ever played the character. Him and the late Sir Christopher Lee. So that's definitely, for me, that's number 2, and I'm probably going to catch hell for not putting Lugosi's Dracula at number 1, but being the severe John Carpenter fan that I am, my number 1 all-time favorite vampire film is John Carpenter's Vampires. I recommend it, seriously. It takes a new twist on the vampire genre, and I love it. James Woods, Thomas Ian Griffith, it's definitely worth checking out. So let me know what your all-time favorite is. I'd really like to know. I'll take a look at all the comments. I will respond. Put them out there. Let's see what happens. I hope everybody enjoys your upcoming weekend. I've got 1 day left after today, then I'm back to work for another 4. So, enjoy yourselves. I hope everybody's staying safe, staying healthy, and let's keep this thing going. I couldn't have done it without you guys, and I'm going to keep going no matter what. So for this review of Amy from Fright Night, sculpted by Mark Van Tine and available from Paul Gill, this has been the Figure Kit Garage. Everybody stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Build a kit.